Hello and welcome back to the Double A NBA podcast. I'm your host, Aiden Hammond.
And I'm Aditya.
And this is the first week of NBA action, and boy, have we got some storylines. So, if you don't remember how we did this last year, because it's been a long time since we had consistent basketball that wasn't in the bubble, we basically would just go through, talk about the best games, talk about some of the storylines, and then talk about the news as well. And this year, we're going to start a new segment. We're going to do a top 5 power ranking at the beginning of every show.
Yes.
So, do you want to start out with your number 5 or your number 1?
Let's go 5-1. I feel like that's always better.
Okay.
All right. You want me to go first?
Yeah, you go first.
All right. My number 5. So, first of all, keep in mind, we're recording this on Saturday. Most teams have played 1 game. Some have played 2. So, we're really just going off that 1 to 2 games. So,
Yes.
My number
that being
5.
said, there are some teams that have looked really good through those 2 games.
That's true. My number 5, this is a bit of it's a weird one, but I'm going to say the Nuggets. Even though they're 0-2, the first game was kind of dumb because they lost to a super lucky shot, and it was the opener. So and the Jokic has been playing really well, even though they have lost both games. The loss against the Kings was really close and kind of just luck for most of that shot. So I don't want to hold them too accountable for that. And then yesterday they lost to the Clippers, who are higher on my power rankings anyway. And again, every team's only played 1 or 2 games, so it's hard to gauge everything so far, but I'd say the Nuggets still look really good despite their record.
Okay. Yeah. They're not in my top 5, but I get why you have them there because I pretty much agree with everything you said. It kind of feels like in the NBA this year, usually we're giving a lot more teams grace at the beginning of the year to start out because, everybody's like, oh, there's 82 games. They'll get it figured out. And then either that team, there are only 2 options to go from there. Either the team figures it out or they don't. But the Nuggets are not losing in ways that are concerning. And there are only 10 less games this year. It's not like the NFL where every game counts. You're still playing 72 games. It's still there's room for error, I guess I can say. So yeah. I like that pick at number 5. My number 5 team is the Milwaukee Bucks. Hear me out on this. I think the Bucks are going to get the 1 seed or the 2 seed. I think there's a clear tier 1 in the East, and that's the Nets and the Bucks, and the Nets are much higher right now. I think the Bucks are going to be the 1 or the 2 seed. I think that they're still going to be a great regular season team. Playoffs, I don't know. But they have the best player in the East. Maybe the best player in the league. Probably not, because LeBron's still playing. But they've got the best player in the East. They got a team around him now, finally. Finally, they got a squad. And, they just beat the shit out of the Warriors on Christmas Day. Now, the Warriors, we'll get into them.
Yeah, spoiler alert, the Warriors aren't in anybody's top 5.
Yeah. But anytime you beat a team by 40 points, I don't care if it's the 2011 Charlotte Bobcats. It's a good win because you're winning by 40 points.
Yeah.
So that's why I got them, but they're still 1-1. So that's why I have them 5th.
Oh yeah, my number 4 is the Bucks. You detailed it pretty well. The loss to the Celtics, that's another one where it's Jason Tatum just hit an insane shot that almost anybody else in the league would miss. So I can't hold that against them too much. And then the thing that does sort of lower them, I guess, and keep them at 4 is that same Celtics team got absolutely shit on by the Nets on Christmas.
Yeah.
So, that doesn't look too great, but, again, that loss really wasn't anything super crazy. It was just a super lucky shot.
I'm not concerned about that loss if I'm a Bucks fan.
And then they bounced back and won by 40. So that,
Yeah.
Other than that, Giannis has looked like, Giannis. The missed free throws at the end of that Celtics game, made him look a lot like Giannis. But hopefully he can fix that.
Yeah.
But Chris Middleton's been playing really well. He had 27 and 32 in his first two, I guess. The whole team's looked pretty solid. It's just, they're 1-1, so I can't have them much higher.
Yeah. Number 4, I got the Celtics. I think Jason Tatum has taken another step up this year. Last year, I think he was kind of in everybody's top 15, but not in the top 10. I think he was, in that 12 to 15 range. I think he's cementing himself as a top 15 player. And by the way, if you said Jason Tatum was not in your top 15, you weren't getting like stares or anything. It was like, okay, I kind of get, the guys you have above him. This year, I think Jason Tatum is going to be a dark horse MVP candidate. That's not to say he's going to win it, but I think he might average an efficient like 25 or 26, couple assists. I think he's cementing himself as a star. And anytime you beat a good team, no matter how you beat them, it's a good win. Now they got their shit pushed back in by the Nets, but
Yeah, that's the only reason they didn't make my top 5. I probably have them at like 6 or 7, but that Nets loss kind of.
Yeah. But they did beat the Bucks, so I had to have them above the Bucks. I almost put the Bucks ahead of them, and I was like, I can't really do that.
All right, my number 3 is the Los Angeles Lakers.
Oh boy.
Now, do you have them at 3 too?
I do.
Okay, cool. So the Lakers, they're 1-1. The first game, LeBron kind of was just chucking up shots. Didn't really look like he cared too much.
As he does sometimes.
So they lost that one, but it wasn't like a big deal. And then they kind of stomped. Well, not stomped. I guess the Mavericks brought it back a little bit, but they still lost by 23. Yeah, they stomped them.
4 players scoring 20 points.
Right. Yeah, this team's looked insane. LeBron is sadly still LeBron. Anthony Davis, did his thing. But then on top of that, Schroeder and Harrell combined for 40, which was, very good. Kuzma put up 13 and 6 in 22 minutes, which isn't bad. The rest of the team didn't really do anything, but they didn't need to. They've looked good. It's just, the 1-1, the season opener loss, so you have to keep them a little lower.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I also have the Lakers at 3 for pretty much the same reasons. They got beat by the Clippers, and yeah, they're 1-1. This is gonna be better as this segment is gonna be more effective as the season goes on.
Hopefully,
because when teams are 1-1 or 2-0 at best, it's kind of hard.
My number 2 is the Nets.
Ooh.
Oh, do you have them at 1?
Ooh, okay.
All right, well, I have the Nets here because, obviously they're 2-0. Both of the top 2 are 2-0 for both of us. They won the first game. What was it? Hold on. Let me pull that up. They won the first game, 125-99. Now, that was against a bad Warriors team, but still a very good win. And then they won against the Celtics, 123-95. So they have been stomping these teams. It hasn't been close at all. Kyrie and KD look amazing. But I have them below the Clippers because I think both of the Clippers' wins are a little more impressive.
Okay. I've got the Clippers at 2. The Clippers look good. And I hate to say that because I thought they looked good last year, and I was proven wrong swiftly in the playoffs.
Well, it's because I think they look good in the regular season.
They did, yeah, they did. But they've looked good so far, and they've beaten the defending championship Clippers, or the defending championship Lakers, and a very good Nuggets team. They beat the Western Conference Finals last year.
They avenged their playoff loss.
Yeah, but they beat the two, the two best teams in the West, or two of the three best teams in the West. I still think the Clippers are probably better than the Nuggets, but they beat some really good teams. I can't put them at 1 just because they just are not playing beautiful basketball like the New Jersey Nets are. But I got them at 2. Yep, the New Jersey Nets. Who you got 1?
The Clippers. Shocker,
right.
I know.
Yeah.
No, but they've looked good. Paul George has looked good, and they have managed to turn Nicholas Batum into a solid player again. So they have done the unthinkable this season.
Yeah, that's the most impressive thing that they've done this year.
But no, they beat the Lakers in the season opener, then they beat the Nuggets again. They've looked like what we expected them to look like in the playoffs last year. And the thing is, the Clippers are gonna be a good regular season team as long as they have these guys. But we got to see how they can do in the playoffs now. But.
Yeah, I totally agree. And then my 1 is the Nets. The Nets look so fucking good. It's ridiculous. And I
can see
Kevin
you
Durant.
Gritting your teeth as you say that sentence.
Yeah, I hate Kevin Durant. I still hate Kevin Durant so much. But I'm happy to see him play because he is, as much as I hate him, he's fun to watch play. Kyrie Irving, who I like a lot more than Kevin Durant, who is actually one of my favorite players just in general, looks awesome, and he's looked arguably better than Kevin Durant. That team has such a good 1-2 punch. Not as good as the Lakers 1-2 punch, but pretty decent. Pretty as far as duos go, I would say that they're probably the second best duo in the league so far. Both of those players can go for 30. Both of those players can get 10 assists. Both of those players can score from anywhere on the floor. Both of those players can dive. Both of those players can pull up.
And then they have Karras, Spencer Dinwiddie, Joe Harris, Jared Allen, DeAndre Jordan.
Yeah, that team. If that team is not your favorite to win the championship right now, and it's a team other than the Lakers, I don't know what you're doing. The Nets and the Lakers should be the clear favorites right now. I had my doubts about the Nets going into this season. Now, granted, they beat a shitty Warriors team, and that's one of their wins. But they beat a good Celtics team, and that's their other win, and they looked better in the Celtics game than they did in the Warriors game. They looked really good in both of those games. Steve Nash, I don't know how much Steve Nash has to do with it, but at the very least, he's got the offense set up to work well. This is what the Nets should look like with Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. They're both good on ball. They're both good off ball. It's such a ridiculous duo. It's not better than Curry and Durant, but it's as beautiful in different ways. Because they're both so good at basketball.
Yeah.
So that's why I got them 1. They're 2-0.
That sucks because I still have that Nets hoodie that I got when D'Lo was there. And now if I wear it, I just look like a bandwagon fan.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not even a fan of the Nets, but it's a cool hoodie, so I'm not going to not wear it.
Yeah.
And it's
okay. Yeah, it's okay.
Bad circumstances.
Yeah. All right, so we got some developments in the Harden saga. First of all, he was reprimanded by the NBA for, I don't know, being dumb, just being stupid. He went out to a strip club. You can't do that in the pandemic. I don't know. I'm so tired of talking about James Harden being an idiot. He's clearly trying to get traded, but the real stuff with James Harden is he expanded his list to 2 more teams. The Boston Celtics and the Portland Trail Blazers. What do you think about this?
I think that neither of those teams are even going to try to trade for him, so there is no point in adding them to his list.
Why do you think that Portland would? I get Boston
they
because
wouldn't
Boston's
be able to
already
trade
kind of
for
set.
him. it would be. First of all, I don't know if they want to pair him with Dame, but like even if they do, I don't see the Rockets taking anything less than half that team and half their picks.
Yeah,
and when you're a team like the Blazers, where you've been repeatedly making the playoffs, getting bounced, you finally built they've had good teams around him, but not enough to even make the finals. You don't want to gut your entire roster that you've built up for Dame to get James Harden and still not make the finals.
Yeah. Portland and Boston. We've talked about this. At least Boston. Boston and Portland both seem like tier 2 teams in their conference. Portland's in there. I think that the West is tier 1 is Denver, both the Los Angeles teams, and then I think Portland's the leader of tier 2. And then in the East, I think it's Brooklyn and Milwaukee, and then as tier 1, and then the Celtics are the leader. Celtics and Heat are the leaders of tier 2. James Harden, as good as he is, and as ridiculous of a scorer as he is, I don't think that he catapults either of these teams into being a legitimate tier 1 team in their conference.
Right.
Because no, I was just going to say because, both of these teams are set up to win right now with the rosters that they have. And adding James Harden and subtracting huge chunks of those rosters kind of, I think, hurts the team more than it helps.
Yeah. Well, that's the tricky thing when you're trading for a guy like James Harden is you're not going to, get him without gutting your roster, but you don't want to gut your roster especially for a guy like James Harden, because he is really good, sure, but obviously you have to see how he can play outside of a D'Antoni offense. Maybe he's a lot cleaner, but at least from what we saw with Mike D'Antoni, it was a lot of, holding the ball, chucking up shots, which he was very good at, and he averaged 35 points per game. But if you're a team that's trying to contend, you don't want to, A, ruin your team, and B, possibly ruin your chemistry, especially when you have all these reports with James Harden where, he's getting into fights with his rookies and he's, he doesn't want to play with certain teammates and, he's just I don't even want to say he's lowering his draft stock. He's just making it so the teams don't want to trade for him.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I do think that both of these teams can put together legit packages for him. The problem is, as we've said, it completely guts their team. I think that the Trailblazers and the Celtics can put together a better package than the Nets can, because the Trailblazers and the Celtics each have a top 30 player that they could give up that the Nets just don't. No matter how you slice it, McCollum and Brown, who would probably be the centerpieces of each team's package, are better than Spencer Dinwiddie and Karis LeVert. And it's not all that close. Because both of those guys are just, are really good number 2s and could be number 1s on a bad team. I would say that the best package that Portland can give is probably going to have to include McCollum, Nasir Little, probably Nurkic, and 2 first-round picks.
Yeah.
And I just don't think they do that, because I don't think that puts them in a... I don't think giving up all of those guys puts them in a better position than having them does.
Especially when you look at James Harden's playoff performances.
Yeah, I mean, that I'm not, I don't know. I'm not super worried about that, because James Harden's also, he's never been with a player, as good as Dame. When he played with Chris Paul, he was kind of, at the edge of his prime, kind of past his prime. Obviously, Damian Lillard right now is better than Russell Westbrook was last season. He's just, it would be... I know that, Dame sometimes doesn't get his respect, but I think he's cemented himself as a top 10 player, right? I think we both had him in our top 10s.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, Damian Lillard is better than Chris Paul and Russell Westbrook, But we saw what Chris Paul did with that Thunder team, and I'd have him like slightly behind Damian Lillard. It's not like a high margin.
No,
Same
it's
with Russell
not.
Westbrook.
But when Chris Paul and James Harden were playing together, Chris Paul was not as good as what Damian Lillard would be right now. Because Chris Paul,
Well, that's what happens
I would
when
say
you
Chris
play next
Paul.
to James Harden. You get worse because
that's
he's very
true.
ball dominant.
Yeah, but I also can't
is what
say that
I-
Harden would make the Nets worse because having
No, he wouldn't make a team worse, but like I don't think going to a good team he would make them worse. But like he's a very similar player to like what we think of Russell Westbrook, where he's a floor raiser but not a ceiling raiser. Like he'll take a bad team and make them good, but he won't improve a really good team.
Yeah, he can carry a team to the playoffs, but not a championship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he's also
right.
stubborn enough to where he's not willing to change his play style to win a championship, I feel like.
Yes, and no, you're that. I would say that is a correct assertion.
That being said, I do want to clarify, we're not saying James Harden is a bad player. I want to clarify that.
No, but I
He's
wouldn't.
very good.
I don't think I would give the house. I don't think putting in all that work and giving up the guys that Damian Lillard likes makes them a significantly better team. Like I don't think James Harden and nobody is a better team than having all those guys and Damian Lillard.
You're right.
All right, up next, we got some storylines from the week. Wow, the Warriors.
They are rough. See, I still remember I was talking to Noah about this, I think it was last night or 2 nights ago, where like we were talking in our group chat, and I said once Clay went down, they'd probably miss the playoffs, and then you guys all bullied me into changing my opinion.
Noah said that?
No, I said that.
Oh, you said that? I mean,
Yeah.
yeah.
And you had me convinced. I'm not going to lie. I was convinced. But
I still, like, I'm not giving up on the Warriors. Because
am.
they played the 2 best teams in the East back-to-back. Like, they did. They played the 2 best teams in the East, and, you know, by our power rankings, 2 of the best 5 teams in the league.
And they lost by like 30 each time almost.
I know, but here's the thing. Wiggins is a wild card, but Oubre is not going to keep shooting this poorly. It is impossible to not make a shot that's not a dunk. He is 0 of 19 on shots that aren't dunks. That is not going to continue. This is a significantly better team than last year because last year there was fucking nobody. Oubre is a good player. He averaged like, what, 17, 18 points a game last year?
He's a good-looking player, I'll tell you that.
Yeah. But, and their defense is not going to look this bad when their all-NBA defensive player comes back. Draymond Green, as much as people hate him, he's a top 5 defender when he's healthy. And that is not an exaggeration. He is the reason why some of those Warriors defenses were so good. And in 2016, when that Warriors team was good, he was the X factor. He was the he was the motor that kept that team running throughout the season. Not Steph Curry, not Klay Thompson, not Steve Kerr, not Andrew Bogut. It was Draymond Green. Draymond Green's defense keeps that team afloat, and they don't have it right now. Now, am I as convinced that the Warriors are going to be a top 6 seed? No, I'm not. And I'm not even convinced they're going to make the playoffs. But I'm not giving up on them yet because they still have Steph Curry.
Here's what I will say. Like, I agree with what you're saying. Like, Kelly Oubre is not going to continue to play bad. Wiseman's look good. Curry's
I'm not saying that. I'm
better.
saying that it is statistically impossible for him to not make a shot outside of like 0 to 3 feet.
Right, but what I'm saying, like, when you're not wheeling out a lineup of 3 to 4 All-Stars at a time, your depth matters. And the Warriors have never been known to have a good bench. Like, their bench is Brad Wanamaker, Damian Lee, Jordan Poole, what's this dude's name? Michael Mulder. Sure, that
yeah,
guy.
they're running 2K creative players. They got a guy wearing 95.
Right. Yeah.
It's yeah.
Like, their bench is terrible. So, you know, even if, like, when Draymond comes back, I guess they'll move Pascal to the bench, which is an improvement, but I don't think it's enough to be like, yeah, this team is going to win, like, 45 games.
No. But And, I've been seeing a lot of, like, these sort of takes that Steph Curry sucks, and, like, he's,
people
he's super overrated. And
people recency bias.
And there's a certain amount of trolling there, but there's also a certain amount of truth to that. Not that he sucks, but that Steph Curry has never, ever, ever in his entire career been built to carry a team as the only good player. He hasn't, and that's not a knock on him. He's a borderline top 10 player of all time. Like, he's definitely top 20
point guard of all time.
He's top 2 at his position. And I've been seeing this phrase thrown around that he is the greatest complimentary superstar of all time. And I think that that's a great way to talk about Steph Curry, because Steph Curry, what he does off ball, he's a fucking magician. But he's never been a guy like Harden that's going to, take the ball up, dominate time of possession, like dominate, have these huge high usage rates. Like, I would be shocked if he had like a crazy usage rate at any point in his career.
Do you know what his 2015 was his unanimous MVP?
2016.
2016. Do we know what his usage rate was on that season? Because I guarantee it wasn't Harden level.
No, it wasn't. He had in 2015 and 2016, he had a usage rate of 28.9 and 32.6.
So very high.
Pretty high usage rate. But compared to, let's say, James Harden won MVP in 2018. Harden had a usage rate of 36.1. So, and 40.5 in 2019 when he was runner-up in MVP voting, or third, I don't know. Thing is, Steph Curry has never been a guy who has like this astronomical usage rate. It's high, but it's not like crazy. But that's not really my point. Steph Curry has always been a guy who's better with people around him. And, everybody's better with people around him. But Steph Curry's game relies on having people that can, like, kind of handle the ball and make their own offense so that he can make his. He doesn't make his offense on ball. He makes it off ball. Which is why having a team with effectively 0 good players and a really good rookie is, like, pretty much, it makes it impossible for him to do what he does.
Yeah, and he's shooting 34% from the field and 20% from 3. Like, that's not going to continue through 70 more games.
No, it's not. He'll probably, I would not be shocked if he finishes, like, 45 and 40 or something.
Right.
In worst case scenario, they're going to have, if they continue this, like absolute worst case scenario, they're going to have 2 top 10 picks, which is absurd. Insane. And they might just win the lottery. Like they could, there's a situation where they go out and they're like, okay, we want, let's say, Cade Cunningham and Zaire Williams, or Cade Cunningham and like Luka Garza or something, and they can get both of them in the draft. And they're like, okay, well, we get like these 2 guys, like there's a legitimate chance, they have a better chance than anybody else if they stay this bad of getting the number 1 overall pick, because they have the Timberwolves pick from the D'Lo trade, and then they have their own first round pick, which they technically traded to Oklahoma City, but it's top 20 protected. So what Oklahoma City's like, if they stay this bad, first of all, the Warriors can make the playoffs and still keep that pick, because like if they're the 6, 7, 8 seed, like, there might be Eastern Conference teams. There might be 6 Eastern Conference teams with better records and like 5 Western Conference teams with better records. They still get that pick.
Wait, what protection is that pick?
Top 20.
So that means if what team was it? The Thunder?
Yeah.
So if they have a top 20 pick, the Thunder get it, right?
No. If they have a pick outside of the top 20, like let's say the Warriors finish with the 12 seed, the Warriors keep that pick. But it's basically if the Warriors finish in the top 5 in their conference, top 4 in their conference.
Wait, if it's a Thunder pick, then it's based on the Thunder's record, right?
No, it's a Warriors pick that they traded to the Thunder. The Warriors.
Oh, I got
the Warriors traded their first round pick for Kelly Oubre, and it's top 20 protected.
Right. Okay, my bad. I misinterpreted.
Yeah. Okay, hold on. I gotta stop for a second. All right, I'll be back. Yeah, my mic was on the ground, so I don't know if you heard that, but I picked it up, so it's fine. We were talking about the Warriors, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, worst case scenario for the Warriors, they get like 2 top 3 picks in back-to-back years and are good for the next 10 years.
Oh no.
So, but also like there's a trade-off for that because you waste another year of Steph Curry's prime, which
No, that's true.
When you have a guy who is as good as Steph Curry, like seriously, like top 5 player when he's fully healthy, it sucks to waste a year of that guy's prime, especially if he is healthy.
Well, that's the thing is like, even if you spent like Klay Thompson's injuries obviously hurt them too, but it's like even if you spend another year of their primes, it's like he'll still be good. Like the way he plays, he'll still be good for multiple more seasons, and then he'll be there to sort of teach, assuming they get high picks in the next few years.
Yeah,
he'll be there to teach their top whatever picks, their lottery picks, how to be good NBA players and sort of keep the dynasty going.
Yeah. But as of right this second, I don't know about the Warriors. I definitely. Do you want to segue into the Dallas Mavericks?
Oh, sure.
Because they look like shit.
Yeah. They can't.
Dallas.
Anybody.
Yeah. Dallas. Okay. First of all, let's look at Luka's numbers. Because Dallas is 0-2 now. They got their asses kicked by the Lakers. 4 different players had 20 points.
Yeah, they can't play defense to save their lives.
Yeah, which like, I can't say it's not to be expected, but it's a little surprising.
Luka's never been a good defender, but you expect guys like Josh Richardson to be, Dorian Finney-Smith and all those guys to, be a little bit better.
Yeah, be at least competent. Yeah. Luka's averaging 30 points through 2 games, 30 points, 36 and 6 basically on 44, 18, 85. So obviously that 3 percentage needs to go up.
Yes.
But still, 44% from the field is relatively efficient when you're the only good player. Well, that's the thing.
When you're watching the Mavs, that offense is the Luka show. So even when you're watching them, you're not thinking this is the 8th and 3 he's missed all night. It's like, all right, he's just missed a shot onto the next one because he's gonna take 20 more.
Yeah, it's like Allen Iverson. You're not like, oh, look at all these shots Allen Iverson is missing. You're like, oh, look at all these shots he's taking because nobody else can.
Yeah, who's Dorian Finney-Smith's gonna take those shots? Tim Hardaway, Losing Seth Curry really Seth Curry's not a good defender, but he is a very good shooter.
Yeah, this feels like a team that's gonna give up, I don't know, ballpark of 180 points a game, something like that.
Yeah, 220, 230, something around that range.
Yeah, they're so bad defensively, and when you've got a guy like Luka Doncic who's already not a great defender, it's kind of you kind of got to mask that. And I don't really know what's going on. So they've lost to, who'd they lose to on opening day?
That game, I forget. Let me pull it up.
Because they lost to the Lakers on Christmas.
Right.
Which was to be expected. I don't think anybody was like, you know what, this Mavericks team is they're gonna beat.
Oh yeah, they lost to the Suns by 4.
Yeah, so the Suns' loss is not terrible because the Suns should be a pretty good team. I didn't pick them to make the playoffs, but even if you're not making the playoffs in the West, you're still a good team. And by the way, they're probably going to make the playoffs if the Warriors keep playing like this. But either way, that's a good. I mean, no loss is a good loss, but that's an okay loss to have. But there's just no excuse for the getting your shit canned by the Lakers. Like, it's just their defense should not be that bad. There's just no excuse. Like, it's just it's bad.
Am I dumb? So I was checking because the Hawks Grizzlies game is going on right now, and it's 103 to 102. But I know Rondo's hurt, but Gallo has not played yet. I don't see a Kongwu or Capella on the roster, and I don't know why. Are they hurt? I know Okongwu had that foot injury.
I have
but I don't
no
know
idea.
about Capella.
Yeah, Kongu's out for like 5-6 weeks.
Right,
I think,
but I didn't know Capella was hurt. Or Gallinari.
Yeah, I did not know that either.
Because like right now, they got like Bruno
concern.
Fernando and Solomon Hill and Brandon Goodwin are getting their minutes.
Huh.
I don't see Oh, no, there's DeAndre Hunter. I
me-
do see him. I don't know. Because I didn't know they were
Actually,
hurt.
I'm going to look on YouTube TV and see if that's nationally televised. Because I would like to watch the end of that game live on the podcast, if it is. All right, yeah, it is. It's on NBA TV.
There you
I'm
go.
going to mute my computer, though.
Oh, Clint Capella has an Achilles. When did this happen?
He tore his Achilles?
Yeah.
Damn, I didn't know that.
When did this happen?
How did we just miss that?
Yeah, I just didn't see anything.
It
about
must have
that.
been like, I think it was maybe, I feel like I maybe kind of remember him getting hurt like right before COVID shut everything down.
No, he
But I
got
also,
hurt,
like,
but it was like, I didn't know it was an Achilles tear.
yeah,
Huh.
he must have like done something while rehabbing because I didn't think it was an Achilles tear. I don't know. I guess that just shows how much attention we pay to Hawks players that aren't Trae Young,
Yeah.
or Cam Reddish, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. But anyway, back to the Mavericks. Sorry for that interlude.
Yeah. The Mavericks are not done. I'm not going to go that far, but they do need to figure some shit out defensively because this team, as much as I want to say, like, you know, this is another year, like, you know, they're without one of their best players. Like, of course they're not competing.
You can make excuses.
They
for
have
this
a
team all
top-
the time. They gotta get it done.
Yeah, they got a top 10 player. Like,
Is Trae Young?
he's
top
gonna
10
leave
player?
if you don't figure it out. Oh, I'm talking about the Mavericks still.
Oh shit! I know we're talking about the Mavericks. I don't know why I said Trae Young.
Oh no. Yeah. You gotta figure it out because I know it's the West, but like you can't look this bad.
No, I mean Kristaps being
you
out
just
hurts,
can't.
but it's like, you know, come on, Luka.
I don't think anybody is expecting without Kristaps them to be like. I mean, I've seen some people saying they're like the 4 seed, but like I don't think anybody's like, oh yeah, they're competing with the Lakers and the Clippers
Right.
for a top seed.
But I mean, they look good in the playoffs.
But it's gonna be.
without him.
It's gonna be weird if they're the 12 seed.
Right.
Like they can't be the 12 seed with a player like Luka on the roster. They have to figure out.
Especially
their
because
shit
he's getting
defensively.
MVP buzz. And they were without him
He's
for a
the
lot of
he's
the
kind of the
season last
preseason
year.
favorite for the MVP.
Yeah, and they were playing without him
Yeah.
last year, and they looked better at least.
Yeah. It's concerning for sure.
Now, you know, they have played 2 games, so maybe they'll turn it around, but it is
Yeah.
still a very worrying thing to see.
Yeah, for sure. All right, now let's talk about the Memphis Grizzlies because Ja Morant is so good.
So good.
Ja Morant is so good, so exciting. He had 44 and 9 on the Grizzlies opening day. I'm watching this game live. He just had a beautiful ISO move on Atlanta to put them up by 1, or to put Memphis up by 1.
No, he's been playing out of his
What do you
mind.
what do you think about the Grizzlies? Do you think that Ja Morant, like at this point, is good enough to, like, you know, with the kind of
Yes.
team that they have around him, which isn't horrible? Do you think he's good enough for them to be like 7, 8 seed?
Yes. He's been playing out of his... I mean, again, small
kind of
sample
agree.
size, but he played out of his mind in that...
Yeah,
Who'd they play? I know they lost. I don't remember who the
Yeah, they
opponent
lost.
was. The Spurs. They lost to the Spurs, which isn't a great loss. But John Morant had 44. I mean, come on.
Yeah, I mean it was impressive when Trae Young was doing it last year.
And the Spurs had.
It's the same.
All right, I
thing.
pulled up the box sheet. The Spurs had 7 players in double digits. So
yeah, no matter how good no matter how good or bad the Spurs are, they're always going to have a solid team defense. Which even if John Morant can exploit it, they can still pretty effectively play against the other players on that team, even if one guy's on fire.
John Morant played really well in that game, and I think he will do great. And he looked like, I don't want to say, never mind, but he's been looking good.
Say? Shades of Iverson?
No, I was not gonna say shades of Iverson, but I never mind. But yeah, he's looked good.
No. I want to hear it now.
He looked like Penny Hardaway, but shorter.
What?
Because he was playmaking really well. Like he was passing the ball well.
Oh yeah. No, he was. But
I don't want to go that far. That's why I didn't say it.
No. I mean, the Grizzlies, I think we both had them in the range where, like, if everything goes right, they can make the playoffs.
As, like, the 8th seed.
Yeah, it's like the 8th seed. Like, they're in that group with, like, they're, like, in there with, like, the Pelicans and, teams like that where if everything goes right, a couple teams maybe fall out of contention, they can get the 8th seed. And it's, the more John Morant plays, it's looking like they might fall to 0-2, which isn't great. But, the more experience, this team is so young. Like, I think I would not be shocked if Jaren Jackson Jr. was their longest tenured player right now.
I think it's is it Kyle Anderson?
Yeah, I guess it could be, yeah.
I'm not sure. I don't know.
Either way, like Valanciunas, a guy that they got at the deadline in 2018, is I think is one of their longest tenured players. They're so young.
Yeah.
Like
and Dylan Brooks.
Dylan Brooks. Either way, I would be shocked if they had a guy who's been in Memphis for more than like 4 years. So this is a hell of a player in John Morant, and I think that this team is going to be. I think this feels like a team that's about 2 to 4 years away.
I mean, they are. I think they're 2 to 4 years away, sure, but like with the way they're playing now, they could be a playoff team next year.
They could. I mean, they could this year with the way the Warriors and the Mavericks are playing.
Yeah.
Maybe they're in that group with like the Suns where they really improve from one year to the next, and they're like, and they make the playoffs. I mean, they were pretty much there last year. They were the 9 seed last year. They lost in the bubble tournament to the Blazers.
Yeah.
So it's not all that crazy to say that, like,
they haven't
gotten worse.
Right? It was a really close, like, set.
Yeah, it was. It was only one game. If they had won, it would have gone to more. I don't know. Those bubble tournaments were so weird. It's also not crazy to say because they're doing the same sort of, like, play-in tournament for the 8 seed. That if they're up there with, an 8 seed, like, New Orleans maybe, a team like that, like, I'm really blanking on teams that are maybe not going to be great but good enough to make the playoffs. But if they're up there with a team like that, maybe the Mavericks, that they could beat them.
Yeah. No,
I think that's enough of an accomplishment for them.
Mm-hmm. I mean, Jaws in his second year. I mean, who's their coach right now? Bickerstaff?
Is he?
No, he was fired. He was in Cleveland. Yeah, no, he was fired. Who's their coach? I know it's someone really new. Like, really young. Or maybe not young,
like
but
Ryan Saunders young?
No, not like young in age, but like not a very experienced head coach.
Taylor Jenkins.
Yeah. He's pretty new, right?
He's 36.
Yeah, so he's also pretty young.
Yeah.
But, like...
No, he is, yeah.
Everyone on this team has room to grow.
Yeah, it's going to be a really fun... I think it's going to be like the Hawks last year where they've got, like, one really fun player. I know, they did. But I mean a better version of the Hawks where they've got one really good, fun, young guard. And then they've got, like, a couple guys around them. Yeah, you're right. They'll be better than the Hawks. But, like... they've got a team sort of like that where even if they lose every game, they're going to be fun in every game, and they're probably going to, like, compete at least, you know?
Yeah,
like,
no,
I don't really know how to say it. When
I
you
get
have
what
a
you're
guy
saying.
who can go for 40 points on any given night, you're going to compete with just about anybody.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. All right, what we got next? Do we have anything next?
Well, I mean, we can talk about anything. I mean, we could talk about Atlanta. We can talk, this is kind of where we're like, this first week of the season, it's kind of like just what teams, just throw some shit to the wall, see what sticks, what teams you want to talk about.
Yeah. Well, the Rockets haven't played a game yet, so.
Oh, yeah. We could talk about that. The Rockets, after a total of 0 games, had the first big outbreak of the season.
Yeah. Was it an outbreak, or wasn't it like 2 positive tests, but a bunch of people that tested negative but couldn't play because of, like, proximity stuff?
Yeah, it was contact tracing stuff, and then James Harden.
Stupid John Wall, dude. He hasn't.
Yeah.
Neither of my point guards have played yet because I have Kemba and John Wall.
And you're still beating me by like 100 points in fantasy.
Yeah, I offered in fantasy. I offered Noah, Seth Curry, and Chris Middleton for Russ. So, but he said no.
Did he take it?
No.
Damn, that's actually pretty good with the way Chris Middleton.
I know. I thought it was a pretty fair trade, and I was giving him Seth Curry so he wouldn't be just losing a point guard for nothing. But
yeah, no, I would probably taken that. If he doesn't take that, I might take that for Ben Simmons.
So I'll have to think about it.
Yeah, I don't know. Live on or Chris Paul actually.
No, I'm not.
Chris Paul might be a little bit better value for that one.
Because he's not going to be a fantasy guy, you know.
I don't know, dude. He might average like 8 assists. That's not bad in fantasy.
It's not good in fantasy.
No, it's not.
But no, we'll work out the logistics.
Yeah. Yeah. This doesn't need to be a fantasy hour.
Patrick Williams looked
else?
good in his debut.
Yes. Okay. Let's talk about the rookies because pretty much every rookie except for LaMelo Ball looked really solid. Anthony Edwards had like 15 points, and James Wiseman's 2 games, he's averaging like almost 20 points. I think he had 19 again last night, or like 17. He's looking really good.
Well.
If the season ended today, he would be the rookie of the year. Yeah, he's averaging 18.5, so that means he got 19 and 18. So
yeah,
Golden State, it's looking like they got a gem in the draft. I mean, they had the second overall pick.
Yeah.
He is statistically their best 3-point shooter this year.
Nice. Okay.
He's shooting 80% from 3 on 2.5 attempts a game.
That's
so
solid.
I think he's 4 of 5 on the season, which is like really good.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like crazy volume, but like he's proven that he can make them. He's, kind of the narrative around him was he was closer to a sure thing than Anthony Edwards and LaMelo Ball, but there were also a ton of question marks surrounding him because he played like 3 games last year. Because they ended up finding some rules violations from Penny down there in Memphis.
Yeah.
So he basically didn't play the entire season. So he basically went straight from high school to the NBA and is looking exactly like he did in high school. He's putting up crazy points. He's getting some rebounds, and on a Warriors team that's been basically not worth a shit. It's still been like, oh well, obviously Steph Curry, but then you're like, oh well, James Wiseman's on that team too. Like, he's pretty fun to watch. I might tune into a Warriors game. and they have 1 million nationally televised games. So at least like when I'm watching the Warriors be ass, I can look down and see James Wiseman filling up the stat sheet, having 20 points and 10 rebounds.
Yeah.
We should talk about Anthony Edwards and Isaac Okoro, who I have both of them on my fantasy team. I know I said we'd stop talking about fantasy, but I should note that. Isaac Okoro, I think if the season ended today, he's second in Rookie of the Year voting.
Really?
He looked really solid. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. He wasn't that much worse than.
He wasn't bad. I mean, he put up 11, 5, and 3.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I guess Anthony Edwards had a better game slightly. But he's looking good, too. Like, he was 4 of 5 from the field.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Colin Sexton and Darius
Garland
looking played well, though.
Oh, yeah, let's talk about the Cavs, because the Cavs, kind of nice, kind of clean.
Okay, let's not get it. They beat the Hornets.
No,
where LaMelo dropped to 0.
I'm not gonna say the Cavs are a playoff team or anything, but when a team's been as bad, because the Cavs have basically been not worth. When the Cavs have not had LeBron over the last 20 years, they have looked like hot shit.
Yep.
But this is the first year where I can say there is noticeable improvement for the Cavaliers.
Yeah.
There is Darius Garland looks like an NBA player, which he didn't last year. Colin Sexton looks like he could be like a legit all-star this year. Obviously, I'm not going to get crazy ahead of myself because there are a lot of good guards in the East, but he looks like he's a guy that could get some votes. Maybe he's a first-time all-star. And, I mean, his defense is still horrific, but, it is what it is. Like, if you put up 20 points and, 6 or 8 assists, you're going to be valuable no matter what.
I will say I didn't watch much of this game. I turned it on a little bit because it was like, Terry Rozier has 30 points. So I was like, I got to watch this. And then Garland played well, and he's on my fantasy team, so that gave me more incentive to watch. But, talk about that Terry Rozier performance. And Gordon Hayward had 28 and 7 and 4.
Yeah. Charlotte's another team where I think they're kind of spicy a little bit. I'm not going to I also don't think they're going to make the playoffs, but I would not be shocked if they did. I'm not going to come out here and be like, "Oh, they're going to be shit." This is a year to develop LaMelo. I think they're going to
really popped off.
I think they might be kind of nice. Let's talk about LaMelo because LaMelo was awful. But I've seen people note this on Twitter that LaMelo Ball was not drafted as this sure thing coming into the league, kind of what James Wiseman was.
Was he?
He was drafted. No, he was not. He was drafted he was seen as kind of a project. He was seen as a guy who has the highest upside out of anybody, but right now, he's probably not going to come in and drop 20 and 10 a game like a guy James Wiseman might be able to. Or Obi Toppin. He's not gonna come in immediately and have this offensive impact but he's got a higher ceiling than Obi Toppin and James Wiseman because
Speaking of Obi Toppin,
he's got eyes for the floor and stuff like that. Yeah, Obi Toppin
did not play well. RJ though.
RJ Barrett played really well. Let's talk about this because we're both Pacers fans.
Yeah.
And he's become kind of underrated on our own podcast. Domantas Sabonis dropped 32 and 13
and didn't get posted about once.
And nobody talked about him at all. And I don't want this to become a Chris Middleton situation where everybody talks about how underrated Chris Middleton is to the point where everybody knows that he's just good.
Yeah.
And to the point where he almost becomes overrated. But Domantas Sabonis is so good. He's a borderline top 5 center. He is absurd, and he's got the statistics to back it up. He is the best player on the Pacers right now. He's the best player on the Pacers last year. He was an all-star, and I don't think he got a single fan vote last year outside of Indiana. But the coaches and the media saw how good he was all year and was like, okay, well,
I don't even think
we'll throw him
in
in there.
It was probably just players and coaches.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
But no, Vic looked pretty good. Malcolm Brogdon looked pretty good. T.J. Warren did not.
Yeah. The Pacers, I mean, we both weren't super high on the Pacers. I mean, we were like, they'll be the Pacers. They'll be pretty good, but they're not going to make a ton of noise.
I mean, I said this going into the season because I remember on the season opener when it was like the Nets game and you were talking about how you didn't want to see the Nets be good because you hate Kevin Durant, right? And then I was saying, I literally said this in chat, I just want to watch some entertaining basketball games because neither of my teams are going to be competing. So,
I'm here for entertaining basketball, but it would help if the Pacers were like really good.
That'd be nice.
I would like that.
They play the Bulls in 30 minutes, so that's an easy one. Although I picked up Patrick Williams today, so he should pop off. But speaking of, bro,
I picked up Wendell
Lauri
Carter.
Markkanen popped off.
Yeah, what did he end up with?
I think he was like 22 and like 8 or something like that. Let me check. He finished 21-7. So yeah. 21, 7 and 4, 6 of 9 from the field, nice, and 4 of 6 from 3.
We were talking about this last week. I don't know if we talked about it on the podcast, but we were definitely talking about it in the chat. This is kind of a year where Lauri Markkanen and John Collins need to prove that they have worth outside of, being pretty good.
Yeah.
Like they need to show why their teams need to pay them.
John Collins just turned down 4 years and 90.
I know, and that's ballsy.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're turning down that, you got to back it up. And and Lauri Markkanen too. He didn't reach an agreement with the Bulls. I'm sure that they were offering him much less than $90 million.
Yeah, I think if he got $90 million, I think he'd take it.
I think it was more in the ballpark of like they were giving him like 60 or 70.
Yeah.
Well,
didn't he say he wanted 4 years 80?
Yeah, he wanted too much money for what he provided last year. But I mean, it's been, if you watch the Bulls at all last year, you knew that Jim Boylan wasn't using him right. And that wasn't the point I was making. It was just like he wasn't good and he's kind of injury prone. And, he's got to go out and prove it this year that he deserves that extension.
Yeah. Dude, this season he's averaging 21. Just saying.
Through one game, baby.
Yep.
Yeah. So, this is going to be a year for guys proving that they deserve money because a lot of guys turn down a lot of money.
Yes.
2017 draft. Lonzo Ball as well could not reach an agreement.
Speaking of Lonzo, he's been shooting well.
Yeah, that's a shock.
It is, but it's true.
I was pretty.
I don't think anyone saw that coming. But his shot looks normal now. Like, not all the way normal, but he's not going from the side now, which is nice.
Yeah.
Let's see. Against the Heat yesterday, he shot 2 of 8. Never mind. But, when was it? They played Wednesday. Against the Raptors, he had 16 points on 4 of 9 from the field, 4 of 8 from 3.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about the Pelicans? Just touch on them a little bit?
Not Lonzo. Zion and Brandon Ingram are amazing.
Yeah. Hey, all you Zion haters out there, I was right. You were wrong. Fuck you. Zion Williamson is good at basketball, and he's not fat anymore, so fuck off. I am so glad that Zion Williamson is proving everybody wrong because Zion Williamson got posted too much on Instagram, and everybody decided that they hated him, which I think is fucking bullshit.
Losers. I would never do that.
Yeah. But
it's okay. LaMelo Ball
so
is
fucking
Bleacher
good.
Report's new toy this year, so I can be a Zion fan.
Yeah. He's so good. It's gotten to the point where he's become underrated because people hate him so much. He was the number 1 overall pick for a reason. He's fucking good at basketball. He is And also I've said it basically the whole episode. The Pelicans are a team that's in that range of teams that could make the playoffs if everything goes right for them. But if the Warriors figure it out and the Mavericks figure it out, they're not. They probably won't. But they could be in playoff tournament position.
Yeah. Now, one thing that's not great, they lost to the Heat that really didn't play Jimmy Butler much at all, and Zion and Brandon Ingram combined for 60 of their 98 points.
Yes.
Which isn't good, because that means the rest of the team didn't do anything. So.
With that being said, though, this team is super fun. I'm gonna watch this team whenever they're on national television. This is a fun team that is not gonna be in the playoffs this year. I'm pretty confident in that they are not a playoff team, but I'm gonna watch them a lot because they're gonna score a lot of points and they have a lot of fun players to watch.
That they do. And it looks like my 6th man of the year prediction is already wrong because Eric Bledsoe is starting next to Lonzo. So that sucks.
Oh, nice. Damn.
Yeah.
Damn.
But yeah.
Yeah.
And Bol isn't playing, so my rookie of the year prediction is also wrong.
Michael Porter Jr. is, though, which is kind of nice to see.
Yeah. He's been solid. But yeah, I think that's all we got. The last 20 minutes was just kind of rambling about cool things going on, but fuck it.
Yeah. I mean, I'm ready to wrap it up if you
I
are.
am as well.
I don't think we have anything else to talk about really that's worth it. I mean, Pelicans, fuck you Zion haters.
Yeah.
I guess maybe the Heat. Just the Heat are still really good.
They did lose to the Magic, which was not great.
Yeah, they did. It wasn't, but the Magic are going to be probably solid this year.
And the Heat just came off of the finals. Everyone talking about how the Lakers are coming off the finals and LeBron's going to be tired, but the Heat came off the same series, and they had rookies.
It's been the
second
same
year
amount of
days. They had a lot of
days.
rookies playing too, so it's a little different.
Yeah. Precious Achua, who they got with, I think the 20.
I was talking about in the finals. They had it Duncan, Tyler Herro, Kendrick Nunn,
yeah.
Players that are used to a college season coming into the league and getting to the finals. They're going to be tired.
But it's also the same as this year because they've got guys like Precious Achua, who
he looked good.
I think, he did look really good. Who's looking like a steal again. The Heat, is there a better team at drafting than the Heat?
Yes.
It feels like I'm sure there is.
We talked about
the
worst drafting teams of the since 2000 in the party.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's but that's Detroit and the Knicks.
And the Timberwolves. And
teams you would expect to see up
there. With best drafting, I mean, the Heat are obviously up there. Celtics. Although they're just pretty good at trading for high picks, sneakily.
Well, that's true, but they don't usually miss when they get a high.
Yeah.
Like Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum,
right.
Guys like that.
What are some other good drafting
Warriors,
teams?
Obviously, they got Draymond 35th overall. They
they just
Curry
haven't had a
7th.
lottery.
They got Clay 11th.
Wiseman, but other than that, they haven't had a lottery pick in a while.
Yeah.
I mean,
Spurs
are solid.
Tim Duncan, Manu, Parker. I guess they haven't really drafted anybody great in the last 10 years or so. I mean, Kawhi.
Well, they traded,
but they didn't even draft him. They traded for him.
Stupid Pacers.
Stupid Pacers. But I will say the Pacers aren't making those Eastern Conference Finals if they don't have George Hill. So I can't be that disappointed.
But they would make Kawhi more if and when they got Kawhi. So
yeah.
Damn, bro! Imagine what Kawhi got drafted after Danny Granger had already left, right? Or he was already hurt by that point.
Oh no!
Really?
Kawhi, Danny Granger wasn't legit hurt. Danny Granger didn't get traded until 2014.
Well, when was Kawhi drafted?
He was still
2011. Oh, he was 2011. I don't know why I thought 2013.
Yeah. Yeah, Danny Granger was still legit good in 2012.
Okay. So imagine, bro, if Danny Granger didn't get hurt and we had Paul George, Kawhi, and Granger.
Oh.
Pacers fantasy.
Why you gotta do this? That was the best wing depth of all time.
Yes. But yeah,
right.
that's all we got. We kind of just rambled there at the end. But thanks for watching. Subscribe if you enjoyed.
Yeah.
Like the video. Keep the comments going. Last video, even though one of them was from a bot, the other one wasn't. So, there's that.
That was
nice.
Yeah.
And I always try to get back to comments pretty quickly and respond and stuff, get some conversation going. We got both of our personal channels in the description. Podcast Twitter's in the description. Podcast email. Aiden's football link. And yeah, I think that's all we got. Thanks for watching, and we'll see y'all later.
Bye.